What if I told you that one man's darkest financial failure turned into the most unexpected partnership, and even love, with a single dad he never thought he'd meet? Stick with me till the end, because this story is not only shocking, but it might just change the way you see failure, second chances, and the hidden power of kindness. And before we dive deep, make sure to like this video and subscribe, because stories like this deserve to be shared with the world. It all began with Daniel, a billionaire CEO whose empire stretched across industries, tech, real estate, energy. To the world, he was untouchable, the face of success. But behind the headlines, Daniel's world was collapsing. A series of risky investments went wrong, lawsuits drained his funds, and betrayal from people he trusted left him standing on the edge of bankruptcy. Overnight, his billion-dollar company was worth scraps. Reporters mocked him, rivals celebrated, and friends disappeared. The man who once had the world at his feet now found himself sitting alone in a dim office, with nothing but regret for company. On the other side of town was Michael, a single dad raising his 8-year-old daughter, Emma. He wasn't a banker or a businessman, just a man who worked 2 jobs to keep a roof over his little girl's head. Life had been cruel to him too. His wife had left when Emma was only 3, unable to handle the struggles of parenting, and since then, Michael had been mother, father, provider, and protector. His nights were sleepless, his days exhausting, but he carried on because of one reason: Emma's smile. One evening, fate intertwined their lives. Daniel had wandered into a small diner after another crushing day of failed meetings. He was dressed in an expensive suit, but his eyes looked lifeless. Michael was there, serving tables for his evening job. He noticed the man sitting alone, staring blankly at papers. Something about him screamed desperation. Most customers ignored Daniel, but Michael, despite being bone-tired, walked over and simply said, "Rough day?" That small question cracked something in Daniel. He ended up talking. For the first time in months, he confessed his failures, his fears, and how the world thought he was finished. Michael didn't interrupt, didn't judge. He just listened, then quietly said, "You haven't failed until you stop fighting. Sometimes it's the simplest ideas that bring people back." The word stayed with Daniel. Over the next few days, he returned to the diner, looking for the strange comfort of Michael's presence. And one night, when Emma joined her dad at work, she overheard Daniel worrying about money, marketing, and investors. Innocently, she said, "Why don't you make something people actually need every day? Like an app for dads who don't know how to cook. My dad is always struggling." They all laughed, but in that laughter, Daniel's mind sparked alive. The 3 of them sat at that diner table sketching ideas on napkins. Michael, despite having no formal business training, offered insights from his everyday struggles, what real families needed, what real people wanted but couldn't find. Daniel realized he had spent too many years thinking like a billionaire, not like a father, a worker, or an ordinary person. Michael's raw, honest perspective was exactly what he needed. Together, they built an idea into a product, a family-centered app that combined food, budgeting, time management, and health. Michael called it Lifeline, because he said every parent needs one. Daniel brought the tech team, resources, and vision. Michael brought authenticity, compassion, and practicality. Within 3 short months, what began as a desperate idea turned into a viral sensation. Within 3 years, Lifeline grew into a billion-dollar company. But it wasn't just the business that grew. Daniel and Michael grew closer. Emma adored Daniel, and Daniel found himself doing things he never imagined, helping Emma with homework, cooking clumsy dinners with Michael, laughing around the kitchen table instead of boardroom tables. The man who once lost everything discovered something far greater than wealth. And then came the moment that shocked everyone. At a press conference celebrating Lifeline surpassing $1 billion in valuation, Daniel took the microphone. Everyone expected him to talk about the numbers, the growth, the future. But instead, he turned to Michael, who was standing nervously in the crowd, holding Emma's hand. "You saved me," Daniel said, his voice trembling. "When the world gave up on me, you believed. You reminded me that real strength isn't in billions, but in love, in resilience, in family. You and Emma gave me a reason to live again. And today, in front of the world, I don't just want to celebrate success. I want to celebrate us." Gasps filled the room as Daniel walked over, dropped to one knee, and held out a ring. "Michael, will you marry me?" Michael froze, tears spilling as Emma squealed, "Say yes, Dad." The world watched as Michael nodded, unable to speak, and Daniel pulled him into a hug that spoke louder than words. The press conference became the most watched clip of the year, not because of business, but because of love. And that's how Bankruptcy turned into a billion-dollar rebirth, how a single dad and a broken CEO found each other,